no brakes, little Ryan. All gas, no brakes, little Ryan.
Stage, there you go. Now, we might have a little bit of an issue of dogs barking. Little tree trimmers actually decided to show up today. Of course they did, because, it's a little bit cold. So naturally, that's what's going to happen. Because everybody gets their trees trimmed when it turns cold. And it was 40 degrees over here this morning, which felt nice. I was happy to have it. But I don't like being cold. But anyway, so as my commercial said, I'm going to do news around the world today, or this morning. And then at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, myself, Lady Freedom, and Sprinkled Donut are going to come back. We're going to talk about Devlin Tate. His case needs attention. We're going to be bringing some new things with some guests and talk about what's going on with him. We look forward to seeing everybody. But for right now, we're just going to talk about news around the world. Now, there's a lot of things going on, and I know that on the YouTube streets, we're talking about something else a little bit now, but I want to get off of that and move on forward with other things, because I think other things are important too. So with that, let me go back over here to where I was, and we will start. Now, I might not put up any videos or backgrounds or that. We'll just kind of talk, because I really don't want to get any copyright strikes. I don't want to deal with all that today. So, YouTube can be so stinking persnickety about that kind of stuff, and I just don't want that. Now, as you notice, I had made a little song for my channel here, which is separate from the Sprinkle Tonight. This is a separate channel. But anyway, as I was doing that, the AI voice decided that Little Red O, or Little Red Zero, was a boy instead of a girl. So all I can say is, okay, yeah, the car is a boy, not a girl, but I am the girl. I just drive the car. But that's what I named my channel after, was my car. So anyway, that's why I'm explaining that. Not that it needs an explanation, but I just feel I don't want to go through remaking it, because it's kind of you got to pay for these services and all that. I don't really want to. So we'll just leave it as is for right now, and then we'll change it later. But anyway, let's go back and start talking about people around the world and all the news. Hurricane Melissa, horrible. Those people are in dire need. I'm shocked at the devastation. But 185 mile per hour winds, no, you can't really sustain that. I mean, there are people from the United States trapped over there now. They can't get home. And that's that too. And I don't know how long they're going to be trapped. I don't know when they're going to be able to get home, but those people over there are going to need help. But this is the worst possible time, because we are also living over here where the budget is the problem. Things have been shut down, and people are in fear of losing their own EBT cards to feed their children. And I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it's ridiculous and sad. So I know people usually start GoFundMes and all this to help people in other countries, but at this point, I don't even know if we can do that, because we are going to be so busy trying to help our families and friends who are not getting their cards, who cannot feed their children, which is just, it's devastating. This is the worst time for this kind of thing to happen. But anyway, so let's get on with this. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the EBT problem. All right. Now, the way I understand it is that because of the government shutdown, that on November 1st, whenever they refill these cards, it may not happen. And people are trying to get ahead of that. And I think that if you're going to go, if you need some help and you need to go to churches and things like that, do it now, before the first hits, before people realize, we didn't get our money. Try to get ahead of it. I mean, if you know it's coming, try to get ahead of it. I think I would. Let me go over here now. Hang on just a second, guys, because I want to give accurate information. I don't want to give, I think it is, or maybe it is. We're going to only do facts over here, because actually, Little Red over there, it is facts, or is it? That's really what we talk about here. So let's go ahead and talk about this for a minute, the EBT card and the shutdown. Okay, here we go. It says, are food stamps being affected by the government shutdown? And the answer is, November SNAP benefits can and must be provided even with the government shutdown. USDA not only has authority to use contingency funds, it has a legal duty to spend all available dollars to fund SNAP benefits. So, no, People are not going to lose their EBT. I understand being afraid, and I would be afraid too if that was a problem for me. So let's talk about Texas in general, because I live in Texas. Here we go. Come on now. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, will stop paying qualifying Texans for food due to insufficient funding. That's not true. We just read that the federal government cannot do that, all right? November SNAP benefits can and must be provided even within the government shutdown. So listen to that. That's very conflicting, and that's in the news. It says affecting 3.5 million Texans who get these benefits on their Lone Star cards each month. More than half of these enrollees are children. But see, why are we getting conflicting information? Why is that allowed? Because I don't understand that, and I think people need to question that situation. So let's go back over here. Oops, here we go. Now, this is going to come from full credit to the NPR, okay? The federal government shutdown continues without an end in sight. Now, we know that they're not going to keep this shutdown. They can't. You cannot stop, just like the pandemic when that happened. The shutdown should have never happened. That was wrong. It was the wrong move. Now, people did not know what to do, and I understand that, but I think that they have learned that was the wrong move. Shh. Okay, there goes Jack, Mr. I got to bark. The tree trimmers are here, and it's causing him difficulty because as a male dog and a bad boy, he just can't help himself, right? Anyway, so in just a few days, tens of millions of people are at risk of losing federal food and nutrition. This includes nearly 42 million people who rely on the program, the SNAP program. Previously, the administration has warned that the debit-like EBT cards will not be refilled. The program will run out of money on November 1st. Now, see, that's very different than what we read from the USDA. SNAP, the country's largest anti-hunger program, dates back to the Great Depression and has never been disrupted this way. Most recipients are seniors, families with children, and kids and people with disabilities. Okay. Hang on a second. Let me go back to where it was. Okay. Individual states handle the distribution while the federal government provides the funds and infrastructure that power the debit-like cards. So if they are saying Texas is not going to refill them because it's state by state is how they're handled, but the government itself funds it from the USA down to each state, federal government to each state, then it would be up to our governor, right, to not fulfill it. How can he do that? I don't think he can. Says, are you worried about your SNAP benefits? NPR wants to hear from you. And this is a letter dated October the 10th. The U.S. Department of Agriculture told state agencies to hold off distributing November benefits until further notice because of insufficient funds. The left-leaning Center on Budget and Policy Priorities has called on the agency to shift money from its contingency fund, which we've talked about that already, and other places to keep SNAP at least partially funded. It contends the USDA has a legal obligation to do so since SNAP is an entitlement program, and they absolutely do have that. We just read that as well. They do have an obligation to fund this from emergency funds. But the USDA rejects that argument, stating in a memo Friday that its contingency funds are not legally available. Why not? You've known about this for a while. Why haven't y'all planned this? Why haven't you taken care of it? It says to extend regular benefits are meant only for natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods. As NPR's Stephen Fowler reports, a coalition of more than 24 Democratic state leaders are suing the Trump administration over its decision to suspend federal benefits during the government shutdown. Now, as November looms, states are trying to sort what options they can offer beneficiaries to fill that gap in food assistance. Some states are trying to fill the gap. A handful of states and territories are pulling from local funding to backfill the SNAP benefits for their communities. Officials in Connecticut, Guam, Louisiana, Virginia, and Vermont have found ways to fund their program anywhere from a few days into November to the whole month. So we know it's possible, all right? Because the federal government usually manages getting the funds to recipients, delays in some regions are expected as officials navigate technical and logistical hurdles for the first time. Others, like South Carolina, Hawaii, and Massachusetts, are leaning on relief or launching new ones to provide support for those who would usually count on SNAP. A coalition of more than 24 Democratic attorney generals and governors are suing Trump over its decision. We just talked about that. This lawsuit, it was filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts on Tuesday. It's, it comes while, okay, listen, everybody's going to blame each other. We already know that, right? That always happens. So in Alabama, roughly 749,000 people participate in SNAP, okay? Let's see if there's any other states. In Alaska, it's 66,000. So let's go back and look at, we're not going to be able to name every state because that would take a long time. I don't have a whole lot of time this morning to do my little news program. I'm going to call it the news program. Places like Arizona, 887,000 people. Arkansas, 236,000 people. So I'm going to go down here and look and see how many in Texas. All right, hold on. It's interesting information here. And I just don't understand. I really don't. How that program can be effective. So, boy, that boy needs to stop that barking. Boy, I'm telling you, I need Caesar Milan to come over here and help me train this dog. I've sent him an email. I've asked, I've tried to ask him. I have been in his chat and asked him, but I don't know. I don't know if he has time to get to Texas. That might be the problem. But I can't take Jack to California. Okay, here we go. SNAP provides, this is Texas and just Texas, SNAP provides food purchasing support to approximately 3.5 million Texans. Hear me out, 3.5 million, including more than 1.7 million children. Those benefits amount to about $617 million per month. $617 million per month for just the state of Texas. According to the state's benefits website, SNAP benefits will not be issued if the federal government shutdown continues past October 27th. Sari Batsky, CEO of the Central Texas Food Bank, said more Texans will face food insecurity in the coming weeks if SNAP benefits are delayed, leading greater demand at the food banks. Well, I kind of thought so. So there is some controversy over this, and one person is telling, okay, so there's one story that says they are obligated and they have to, and then the other states are saying, no, they don't. So that's not fair. Somebody needs to own up to what's really going on there. Okay, so that is one thing that's going on around the world and in the United States. So let me get over to my other news source here. Okay. Oh, boy. Let's see. Now, hang on a minute. Here we go. Now, let's see. All right, the next big thing that's going on. There's some nuclear testing happening. Trump answers Putin's nuclear boast with an unexpected response. Trump instructs Pentagon to start testing nuclear weapons on an equal basis with Russia and China. Oops, I don't think that's a good idea. But I think I'm not going to get into any kind of politics. So that's one thing that's going on in the world. Another thing that's going on in the world over here is National Guard troops deployed to Washington, D.C. They will remain mobilized in the city at least through February of 2026, according to people familiar with the Guard's orders. The troops' orders has been expected to lapse at the end of November before the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, extended them, which has not been previously reported. Okay. The DC mobilization is currently the subject of a legal fight between the Trump administration and DC's Attorney General. Of course it is, and it would be, right? As of Wednesday morning, there were 2,387 National Guard troops mobilized in just DC. They're included from DC, Louisiana, Mississippi, Ohio, and South Carolina, West Virginia, Georgia, and Alabama. So they've taken these guards from these other states and just moved them to DC. All right. Now, what else is going on? Let's go to the next story here that I want to talk about. Ooh, can we have some feel-good stories? I would love to have feel-good stories. Now, this is kind of a weird story. Let me get this to pull up. So the name of the story is, stop that. No, don't do that. Oops. All right. We're going to go over here and we're going to use a different source. Hang on. Oh my goodness. I want to talk about a feel good, not a bad thing, a feel good. So here we go. Oh, did you notice? And I was so happy to hear this in the big heist from the Louvre in France. They are actually arresting people. I'm hoping that they get the jewels back. I really am. I would hate to see some such historical things be torn up and the Hope Diamond be lost and things like that, because it was huge what they took. And I don't know why they thought they were going to get away with it. That was, that was crazy on their part. Okay, so today in history, let's talk about that. Allie defeats Foreman in Rumble in the Jungle. This was today in 1974. Okay, cool. In 1938, The War of the Worlds airs on radio. In 1961, Russia's Tsar Bombs tested. Bombs tested. Okay. And Quebec in 1995, secession narrowly fails. What else happened on this day in history? Let's see. All right. No, I don't want to do that. Hang on, guys. Let me see. Paris. Let's see. Read more. Okay. Now. Oh, this is about the missing items from the Louvre. This is from Paris in AP. It happens right now. The dragnet tightened around the Louvre thieves. On Thursday, 5 more people were seized in the crown jewels heist, including a suspect tied to it by DNA. Woo, they weren't so good, were they? They left some DNA. The Paris prosecutor says, widening the sweep across the capital and its suburbs. Authorities said 3 of the 4 alleged members of the commando team, as French media has dubbed it, the robbers, are now in custody. The late-night operation in Paris and nearby Saint-Denis, I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly, just lifts the total arrest to be 7. Prosecutor Laura Bousset, it's Beccuau. I don't speak French, so I don't really know how to pronounce it correctly, but anyway. According to this, it was a brazen quartet that burst into the Apollo Gallery in broad daylight on October 19th. They may be able to inform us about how the events unfolded, the people that they've already arrested. Because the called response and exceptional mobilization, about 100 investigators, 7 days a week, with roughly 150 forensic samples analyzed and 189 items sealed as evidence. Oh, that's great. I hope they get everything back. Even so, she said, the latest arrest did not uncover the loot. A trove valued around $102 million that includes a diamond and emerald necklace Napoleon gave to Empress Marie Louise as a wedding gift. The jewels tied to the 19th century Queen Marie Amélie and Hortense and Empress Eugenie's pearl and diamond tiara. Oh, these are expensive things, aren't they? Ooh, that is bad. Only one relic has surfaced so far, and that was Eugenie's crown. Damaged but salvageable, dropped in the escape. Bousset renewed her appeal that these jewels are now, of course, unsellable. Thank God. There's still time to give them back, and I hope they do give them back. Experts warn the gold could be melted and the stones recut to erase the past. That would be so sad, wouldn't it? I mean, a 4-minute crime. 4-minute crime. And how much did they get? What was the value of this? Was it 102 million? What was it? 102 million. In 4 minutes, 102 million. All right. So move on to something else. All right. The next thing I want to talk about. Ooh, let's see. Breaking news. Here we go. Into today. Now, this is according to, the big trucks out there. I can hear it. Okay. So there's Senate talks to continue over ending the shutdown as Trump returns to D.C. Thank you. He needs to return. Okay. Here's another thing I want to talk about. The hurricane. Hurricane Melissa devastates Jamaica, Haiti, and Cuba, and at least 28 people are dead. People across the Northern Caribbean are beginning to dig out from the destruction of Hurricane Melissa, as deaths from the catastrophic storm climbs to at least 28 across Haiti, Jamaica, and the Dominican Republic, with Haiti reporting most of the fatalities. On Thursday, Melissa was moving away from the Bahamas and had turned toward Bermuda, which it is expected to pass later in the day. In Jamaica, the rumble of large machinery and chainsaws, chopping machetes, it just echoed as southeast as the government workers and residents began clearing the roads. It sustained a direct hit from one of the most powerful Atlantic storms on record, I believe 185 miles per hour wind, that it is completely destroyed. There was a tornado that touched down in Gerald, Texas years ago. There was a little community out there. There was not one piece of a house left. Gone. I think it was like this 5. We'll touch on that for a second, because it was so devastating to this area. we had never seen anything like that in Texas before. Okay, so let me get the Gerald tornado. Here we go. Ooh, let's see. Search. This was in 1997, guys. And the Gerald tornado was so devastating because of its immense power, which reached F5. The intensity with winds over 260 miles per hour. And it was slow moving, which allowed it to dwell over a subdivision and cause catastrophic damage. The tornado's destructive power was so complete that it pulverized homes, stripped the pavement, and wiped the earth bare in its path. It was slow moving at 5 miles per hour, which trapped those residents, leading to nearly 100% fatality for those who were not underground, making it one of the deadliest tornadoes in Texas history. I remember that. It was just horrific. I mean, even though people knew it was coming, in Texas, we don't normally have storm shelters like they do in other states. Of course, in this area where I live, we are on solid rock because of where we are. But so trying to dig into solid rock is extremely hard. Even to put a swimming pool where I live, which is within 7 miles of Gerald, I believe, even to put a swimming pool over here, the cost to dig into solid rock and pour enough concrete to support it so it wouldn't slide off the hill, because I live on the side of a hill. You hear that? I'm sorry, guys. I wouldn't slide off the side of the hill. It was going to be about $200,000. That's way too much. I said, hell no, we're not doing that. So there is no pool here because of that. But I understand when you're on solid rock, how are you going to build a storm shelter in solid rock, right? I mean, I guess they could have built it above ground, but at 260 miles per hour, how would anything survive? Okay. So now we'll go back to something else. I want to talk about Louis Mangione and what's going on with his case. As I understand, there's some things that we didn't expect to be happening. So let me go over here and get this one for you. Oh boy, gosh, they are loud out there with that thing cutting those trees. Well, because they're making, as they cut the trees, they're making mulch out of it at the same time. The truck is here on site making the mulch. So, oh boy, here we go. On December 24th, 2024, Mangione, who was 26, has alleged to shot and killed the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in New York City. Following the killing, writings were found at the scene that referenced criticism of the American healthcare industry, including a practice of denying claims. We know that's a huge problem. Mangione was arrested 5 days later at the McDonald's in Pennsylvania. The motive. According to the prosecutors, Mangione had writings in his possession that called the U.S. health insurance system and its executives parasites. The charges. Mangione faces multiple federal and state charges, including first-degree murder, murder in furtherance of terrorism, and stalking. Federal prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. But something has changed. They've changed the charges. The case has drawn widespread attention and polarized reactions. While the public officials expressed dismay over the murder, many people on social media expressed sympathy for Mangione and used the event to voice their anger and frustration with the healthcare system. And anytime you have high-profile things, you're going to have people on both sides. It happens in every single case, right? In October of 2025, reports indicated that Mangione was a popular inmate at the Brooklyn Detention Center and had reportedly begun listening to music by pop artist Taylor Swift and Charlie XCX. Okay, what difference does that make, right? I don't think that should matter. That's really not important. What's important is, now, his lawyers, here's what's going on over there now. Hang on a minute, guys. His lawyers asked a New York federal judge Saturday to dismiss some of the criminal charges, including one count for which he could face the death penalty from a federal indictment brought against him in December, and that's the assassination. In papers filed in Manhattan in federal court, the lawyer said prosecutors should also be prevented from using at trial his statements to law enforcement officers and his backpack where a gun and ammunition were found. Okay, every case like this, they always try to get the evidence suppressed. They'll try every trick in the book to get the evidence suppressed. Even Stephen Stearns tried to get the evidence suppressed. They said Mangione was Mangione was not read his rights before he was questioned by law enforcement officers who arrested him after Brian Thompson was fatally shot as he arrived at a Manhattan hotel for an investor conference. They added that the officers did not obtain a warrant before searching his backpack. Mangione, 27, has pled not guilty to state and federal charges in the fatal shooting. The killing set off a multi-state search after the suspect shooter slipped away from the scene and rode a bike. He rode a bicycle to Central Park. That was his getaway car, a bicycle. I mean, I wonder how long he trained for that, okay? Anyway, before he took a taxi to the bus depot, and the service just, anyway, so he was going to this bus depot and where he could have went to any state. 5 days later, a tip from a McDonald's about 233 miles away in Altoona, Pennsylvania, led police to arrest Mangione. He has been held without bail since then. Now, they've asked the federal charges be dismissed and the death penalty be taken off the table as a result of public comments by U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. In April, Bondi directed prosecutors in New York to seek that death penalty, calling the killing of Thompson a premeditated, cold-blooded assassination that shocked America. Murder cases are usually tried by state courts, but prosecutors have also charged Mangione under a federal law on murders committed within firearms as part of a crime of violence. It's the only charge for which Mangione could face the death penalty since it's not used in New York State. The papers filed early Saturday morning argued that this charge should be dismissed because they failed to identify the other offenses. Because prosecution has failed to identify the other offenses that would be required to convict him, saying that he alleged other crimes, stalking is not a crime of violence. Okay, now stalking's been a big issue over here on YouTube here lately. We all know that, right? The assassination and its aftermath has captured the American imagination, setting off a cascade of resentment and online vitriol toward the U.S. health issuers while rattling corporate executives concerned about security. After the killing, investigators found the words delay, deny, and depose written in the permanent marker on ammunition at the scene. The words mimic a phrase used by insurance companies in critics. Okay, by insurance company critics. Okay, so when you get your letter of denial, it's delay, deny, or depose. That's the insurance company, and that's why he was upset. Okay, so I wonder what's going to happen there. I don't know if he's going to win that or not. I mean, usually, I know why they want the death penalty, but no, I'm not for him at all. I don't have no soft heart toward him, nothing. But what if he said, okay, I'll just take life in prison? What if he would just take a plea? Would that work? Would that be good enough? See, I don't know. And here's something weird. Now, I thought this was very strange. Listen to this headline. Why inmates are calling Luigi Mangione the ambassador at his Brooklyn jail. What? Luigi Mangione is currently behind the bars at this detention center in Brooklyn and has become one of the more well-known inmates at the facility because he's high profile. He's referred to as the ambassador of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn because of the time he spends getting new inmates acclimated to jail. Oh, he's the friendly helper now. Okay. Arthur Adelia, a lawyer who has represented the likes of Harvey Weinstein and former MDC inmate Gisele, I never said her name right, Gisele Maxwell, I'm sure I said it wrong, tells People magazine, a model prisoner and very, very well liked. He is currently in federal custody facing both state and federal charges related to the murder. He is quickly becoming a well-liked inmate in the detention center. That's according to his attorney. He's just been a model prisoner as he waits both his charges. What else? He also made a point of helping out other inmates when they first arrived at the facility. According to the attorney who has previously represented, we know that. He actually has been extremely nice to the brand new people who go there. Adding that he is being referred to as the ambassador. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's like Letitia Stout. She was the jailhouse lawyer for all those inmates, if you remember right, when she talked, those phone calls that were put out by Alex Erickson and the Ward case studies. And MJ over at, I can't remember her channel name. Well, MJ, we all know who that is. Melissa J. Over at Melissa J's, they talked about on these phone calls where she was actually she said she was helping other people with their legal work. She was helping them write their appeals and helping them write their lawsuits, etc. Because we know that Letitia Stouch is the queen of lawsuits, guys, queen of it. Every jail and every prison that she goes to, she files a lawsuit. We know that there's a pending lawsuit in Kansas. Her lawsuit against the jail in Colorado was dismissed. So she also has this pending lawsuit in Kansas that I thought most of it would be dismissed by now, but they actually are allowing one of the things to come through. Now, Alex Erickson and I have talked about this many times. In fact, we are awaiting new information from the last hearing that they had, which was, I think, October 14th or October 16th, on the remaining part of her case. Now, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but what's remaining in her case is the assault charges by the officers. Okay, because we can't use certain words, I'm not going to say that, but I'm just going to say we're just going to say essay by staff, according to her. But let me tell you something about her, though. Letitia Stouch, every place that she's ever been, including her husband's work, her previous husband's work, somebody essayed her. She hollers that first thing. That's the first thing she hollers, So let's look at this right now. This was 1 day ago. 1 day ago. All right, here we go. How killer stepmom traveled 1,300 miles to dispose of stepson's body during a nationwide manhunt. This is 1 day ago, and this case is old. 11-year-old Gannon Stouch disappeared on January 27th, but his remains were found near Pensacola, Florida, 2 months later. Here's what you need to know. Letitia Stouch, 42, is currently serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole after being convicted of murdering her 11-year-old stepson. Gannon was reported missing from his home. His remains were discovered 2 months later in a suitcase under a bridge 1,300 miles away. Letitia managed to hide and transport and dispose of his body in the middle of an active murder investigation and a nationwide manhunt for the boy. So on February 28th, a judge in Colorado approved a request from the El County Sheriff's Office to arrest Letitia and charge her with the murder. The young boy's disappearance had become national news by the time, but despite the increased awareness and the tireless work of the volunteers who had assembled and formed a search party to assist in their efforts to locate Gannon, investigators, they still never found his remains. But what's sad about that is, had they actually looked in that closet, they were standing there in the closet. The suitcase he was in was right there. They could have found him if they would have just done a little better search. But this is how it goes. When children are reported as a runaway, they're going to, especially a child that's, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, they're going to, they ran away. That's a common problem. Children of that age run away. They don't look at it as if it's a crime scene first. They wait until they have proved it is a crime when there is no footage of them anywhere, which is not the way this should be. I feel like, and I'm just a nobody, I'm just a mom, but I feel like anytime a child is reported as a runaway under the age of 18, you need to look at it as a criminal case first. And whenever you find evidence that they actually did run away, then you can treat it as a runaway. Because what happens is you miss your opportunity to get the evidence that you need to take the people who are involved to prosecute them. Because by the time you realize what they're telling you is not true, because you've sorted through all the videos and looked through, all over town, you've looked at all the different cameras from every businesses down the street from where they live, in the neighborhoods, etc., and you find that they were not seen on any of those, by the time you've done that, it's too late. A lot of the evidence has already been washed away, cleaned up, etc. I mean, when they walked in that house, they knew that house smelled heavy of chemicals. Why would somebody's house smell like that? All right. I mean, they made all kinds of mistakes in the beginning. Now, had that suitcase not been found, they would have charged her, but I don't know what conviction they would have gotten, because a lot of times, you can tell somebody, you have to have without a reasonable doubt that this child is not ever coming back. They needed that. Now, that's neither here nor there, because this has already happened. But I just feel like there's a lot of missing children out there that they are not looking for correctly because they waited until they could prove it was not a runaway instead of looking at it as a criminal case to begin with, especially your vulnerable kids. I talk about this a lot, but your vulnerable kids, such as Sebastian Rogers, Devlin Tate, a few others, they absolutely should have been treated as a criminal case first. But anyway, let's continue on because I don't know why people have one day ago has a story out about her. Let's see what's going on. All right, what's going on with her? So Letitia was taken into custody. She was taken back to Colorado. And then, we had a trial. Discovery was made. They had the trial. And then the investigations left, they had a mystery. Why and how did Letitia manage to transport her stepson across the country in the middle of a criminal investigation? Okay, in the middle of a criminal investigation. So let's see, let's move on down here. And so let's see. Letitia stated Gannon was supposed to be home, but he wasn't. And the deputy, we're just kind of going over it a little bit. And the deputies responded to the Stouch home, looked and took the statement, and then started this investigation. The missing persons investigation then shifted into a murder investigation as law enforcement gathered evidence. The interview with Letitia was changed during her story. She kept changing her story, if you remember that. If you've watched the trial, then you already know this, but if you did not watch the trial, then this might be information to help you understand why she's in the news today, right? It also noted that in the affidavit, the detectives did not think Letitia was telling the truth. I mean, they thought she wasn't telling the truth to begin with, okay, which is good. But now we have not heard this about these other cases. In fact, the little case in Tennessee, Sebastian Rogers, we've not really heard anything. Now, law enforcement does not owe us anything. They don't need to tell us anything about their case. In other words, they're making a case. You get one chance to prosecute. If your evidence is leaked or there's things leaked about this case that would cause you not to be able to prosecute this case, then the people who are responsible get away with basically the M word, okay? Because if the child is never found, then he is actually then they are presumed to be, no longer with us. Now, we don't know that that's the case. I'm not going to sit here and say that's the case, but I am going to say they missed the window of opportunity. And because we don't know what's going on, because they don't tell us anything, everybody's, oh, it must be a conspiracy. It's this, it's that, it's all that. No, I don't think it is. I just think that Ellie needs a little more information. Now, we're going to get back on over here, but because the reason why I'm talking about this is because it directly involves missing children and what can happen. And since we know what Letitia Stouch did, how many others? There's many others it's in the news every single day, many others. Okay. So they kind of said that they knew she wasn't telling the truth. Then she was claiming that she needed medical attention. Of course she does. Listen, she's not considered a sociopath, but she is considered to have narcissistic personality disorders, right? Here's another thing about narcissistic personality disorders. There's a little term, I talked about this yesterday. In fact, I did a lot about this yesterday, about main character syndrome. A lot of your people, being narcissistic, a lot of those people also have main character syndrome. This is not a the term is not a medical diagnosis. It's just something that's talked about as far as why people act the way they act. Okay. So, anyway, so we're going to go back to Letitia and figure out why was she in the news. It was at that point that Letitia stopped cooperating. As soon as she realized that, they know something. In the end, deputies used surveillance footage from a neighbor's door camera, the security system inside the Stouch household, and Letitia's search history text from her phone and traces of blood in the unexpected places in the home to build their case. All right. Authorities assembled a tentative timeline of events based upon the evidence which alleged that Letitia had M-worded Gannon on the afternoon that she reported him missing, and then hid his body in the trunk of her car in the garage, according to the affidavit. But we know he was in the closet at the same time that the cops were searching that house when she first reported him missing. She had to pick up her husband the following night, at which time she parked her car at the airport and proceeded to get a rental car. She returned later to get her vehicle and drove about 40 miles south of Colorado Springs to dump the body. A determination made by the investigators after they discovered a particle board in that area with traces of blood, and they did the typing of DNA and it matched Guinness. So they searched the location that Letitia had traveled based on the GPS tracker in her vehicle. After disposing of the body, the affidavit said that Letitia then washed her car and arrived for her ill-fated interview with deputies 2 hours late. It's unclear when exactly Letitia went back to collect those remains, but at some point after her interview with investigators, she retrieved the remains and then executed her brazen plot across state lines. All right. Her brother, Dakota Lowry, recalled while testifying, I'm sorry, guys, hang on a moment. Let me see. Hang on just a second. Oop. Hang on just a second. Let me let her know I am live. I can't actually talk to her right now. Here we go. Oh, no, here we go. Back to people. All right. Oh, my Lord, Lord. Okay, back to where I was now. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. So then after she did all that, she decided she's leaving because something happened to the house. And I believe the words were, but I don't, this is not the exact wording, but I'm just going to say it was something to the effect of, if you are not a blood relative of mine, you need to leave this house. Now, this was in the middle of this investigation when everybody showed up because he'd been reported missing. So I think that he always knew Letitia was not being honest. So then, what the hell? These people need to go away. All right. So then she rents a van and she's going to leave and all this other stuff. Uh-oh. This is breaking news here. Hang on a minute, guys. This is breaking news right here. Marshals are looking for a Williamson County man wanted for sexually assaulting two, juveniles. Oh, no. Again, let me read the article real quick. Okay. U.S. Marshals are looking for a Williamson County man wanted for sexually assaulting two juveniles. Rutucio Alfonso Renteria is known as a commercial truck driver with ties to the Rio Grande Valley in Mexico. A fugitive investigation is currently underway. So here's what happened. 59-year-old Renteria of Georgetown, Texas, is wanted for aggravated assault of a child that occurred in July of 2024. The Williamson County Sheriff's Office obtained 2 warrants on October the 8th for Renteria. The U.S. Marshals were called in to help find and apprehend Renteria, who is a known commercial truck driver with ties. He is known to be a registered to own. He owns and is a registered driver to a gray 2015 Nissan van with Texas license plates FHB 2648, a silver Dodge Charger with Texas license plate RMN 6003, a red 2004 Nissan truck with Texas license plate BP 65413. A fugitive investigation is currently underway, and marshals are pursuing the latest find to find Renteria. What can you do? Anyone with information on Renteria's whereabouts is urged to contact the U.S. Marshals Service Communication Center at 1-800-336-0102. All right. Tips may also be sent to the Capital Area Crime Stoppers at 512-472-8477. Okay. So again, this person's name is, come back up here and get his name for you guys. And it's Rutilio Alfonso Renteria. All right. And he is wanted in Texas, from Georgetown, Texas. He's 59 years old, and he's wanted for aggravated sexual assault of a child. So apparently this is assaulting not one, but 2 juveniles in 2024. So if you're out there, you know him, please contact the Crime Stoppers, contact the marshals. Let's get him turned in. Let's get another monster off the streets. Okay, we'll go back to our other story now. That's sad. I hate to hear that. I really do. So after all of this, then she gets this van and she's going to leave, right? She's going to leave. And she has to go back and retrieve Gannon because she knows that she's got to take him with her, because the only way she's going to be able to cover this up is if she takes him with her and then takes and drops him somewhere. Now, one of the things that also happened in this case was she drove. Now, there's no reason for her to go from Colorado through Texas to go over to Florida, where she ended up. Now, the biological mother of Gannon lived in Texas at the time, even though she was already in Colorado because her child is missing and was supposedly going to stay at the house with Al. I mean, that's the mother of his children. Regardless of what was going on with her, Letitia goes through Texas. I think she had every intention of disposing of his body here in Texas to make it look like his biological mother actually did this, but that didn't work out for her. So she kept on going. So she goes over to Florida, right? So then she rents a hotel room, and then she threw the suitcase off the Escambia River Bridge, where it would, it later was washed ashore according to the probable cause statement. Now, her daughter was with her, but her daughter is not responsible for any of this. She had no idea really that he was even back there. I think she had some suspicions that her mother had done something, but she did not know what it was. Her mother was very abusive to her, and if she questioned her mother, etc., her mother would hit her. Her mother would slap her in the face, period. Letitia is a very abusive, manipulating person. All right. So later on, they concluded that in the autopsy that 11-year-old had passed away after being stabbed 18 times, sustaining 4 blunt force injuries, and being shot once in the face. Horrible. And then she was convicted in May 8th of 2023, and she's now serving her life sentence. So why is she in the news? I don't know why she's in the news, and why was this one day ago? I'm trying to figure out, why is she in the news? Why is this here? What the hell has happened now that she would need to be in the news? I mean, she's old news. What happened one day ago that she needs to be brought up? I'm trying to find that out. That's why I'm looking at this and reading it. I'm going, no, this is an old case. There's no reason for her to be talked about now. She's old news, for God's sake. So one day ago, it says this was, why? I wonder if they're going to do any kind of a program on her, like, how's it go? Oh, October 29th, 2025. Why are they talking about her? What's going on? Do they just need a story? Because I don't understand. Why would you even talk about this? I'm just trying to look through it to see if there's something that we're missing as the reason why that she's in the news now, because there's no reason for her ass to be in the news. She went to Kansas and then she got transferred back to Colorado. Now, I know that she has an appeal filed, and I know that appeal is being looked at soon. I don't know exactly when. And the reason why, we've done FOIAs to ask for her appeal records, and her appeal records are sealed. Nobody can get them except her attorney or herself. So we're not going to be able to get them. Hey there, Leslie. How you doing? Oh, you know what I forgot? You know what I did, Leslie? I forgot to put it out as a post, I think, until much later. And then I think it didn't have time to send out the notices. I'm so sorry, Leslie. I just got excited and thought, I'm going to jump on and do some news. I'm so sorry. I did a little commercial about what we're going to do now, what we're going to do tonight, because tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to go live and talk to Lady Freedom and Sprinkle Donut, and we're going to do a show on Devlin Tate. That's a very important case to me. You know how Sebastian Rogers' case just reaches out to some people? It has me too. But when I found out about Devlin Tate, it just broke my heart, because knowing what I know that they have done now versus what I knew when the case first appeared, I can't let it go. I can't let it go. I have to see it through. In fact, I've done a lot of work on it. We're going to have some live guests tonight to talk about it. And anyway, just stay tuned. But I'm so glad to see you. Okay, so Leslie, here's part of the problem. I live in Texas, right? So it's okay. You didn't miss the whole live now. I just kind of started talking at 11. It's okay, because I really didn't talk about a whole lot other than some little news stories and I don't know, not much. And my dog barking, that kind of thing, because the tree trimmers are out there. But anyway, so all of a sudden on October 29th, Letitia Stouch's name is in the news. Why? I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. And I was explaining that I cannot get the appeal records because they are sealed, which sucks. But I'm going to tell you something. As soon as I can, I'm going to get those appeal records. Let me see what else is going on. I'm trying to find out why is she in the news? What's going on with her that makes her newsworthy? Because she is not newsworthy. That old hag, I swear. So I'm trying to figure it out. Okay. Well, crime news. Let me see about crime news and see if something else comes up. I don't get it. Oh, you're in Oregon. Okay. All right. Crime news. Let's see. Oh, 5 people arrested in connection with the 2023 overdose death of Robert De Niro's grandson. Oh, my. That's terrible. Okay. Let's read about that really quick. Okay. Several people are facing drug charges in connection with the July 2023 death of Leonardo. No, I'm sorry. I'm saying that wrong, guys. I'm saying it wrong. It's Leandro Anthony De Niro Rodriguez, according to the DEA. Okay. Here's what we need to know. He was found deceased in Manhattan on July 2nd, 2023. He was the only son of Robert De Niro's daughter, Drenna. A woman was previously arrested in connection with 19-year-old's death. So authorities have made several arrests in connection with this death. And from the Drug Enforcement, see, New York was the first to report on the update. The New York City's chief medical examiner later ruled he died from the toxic effects of fentanyl, of course. He had bromazole, I'm not saying this right, guy, bromazine, it's BROMAZOLAM, bromalizone, alprolizone. So it's a prolozone, but with a BR on it. Prolozone, alprolizone, and 7 amino somethings, ketamine and cocaine. Clonazepam. Oh, what is this? Okay, so apparently it's going to be clonazepam. What? Clonazepam. Well, I know I'm saying that wrong. But anyway, he has many different drugs in his system. So the ME's office confirmed to people, they confirmed that. No more than 2 years later, authorities in New York say they have made 5 arrests in connection with this overdose. All are being charged with the death resulting from the sale of narcotics. Okay. He was the only grandson, and here's what it says. After he passed away, the daughter of De Niro says that she announced his death on Instagram in a moving post. And the post read, oh, yeah, it's sad, isn't it? I don't know how to live without you, but I'll try to go on and spread the love and light that you so made me feel in getting to be your mama. And then that was part of her post. So days after the death, she claimed on Instagram that someone had sold her son fentanyl-laced pills and that they were laced. Okay, so we talked about that. The first woman that was arrested later that month in connection with the death was Sophia H. Marks, and she was accused of selling the drugs to the teen. Plea information for Marks was not immediately available. Okay, so what's the next thing that's going on here? We're just talking about, things that are going on around us instead of what's going on Facebook. So let's see some more crime news over here. Oh, here's another one. It's not good. Cause of death revealed for fitness guru found stabbed in his New York apartment after texting dad photos of his alleged assault. Oh, no. So Jacob Zybin Hood, 34, was found slumped over, oh my gosh, the toilet by his husband in August. This was published October 17th the first time. Here's what we need to know. Jacob Zybin Hood told his family that his husband, Donald Zybin Hood, attacked, beat, and sliced him the night before he was found dead, authorities say. Donald, a model, was arrested on burglary and assault charges, but has not been charged in connection with his death. Oh, no. Even though it was ruled a homicide? Months before the killing, Donald allegedly threatened to kill Jacob with a knife per authorities. Authorities in New York have released the cause and manner of the death. Stop that. I don't like the little commercial things pop up. Let me go back. Oh, boy. I know. They just keep popping up over here. Stop it. So he was found. Let me go back over here. So Donald So at first, he was not arrested for it. Donald, a 40-year-old male model, was indicted October the 1st on several charges, including burglary and assault, right? But he was not charged with the death of his husband or wife, whatever he called him. So on October the 17th, the official chief medical examiner, in a statement to People, Jacob's death has been ruled as a homicide. The cause of his death was multiple blunt and sharp force injuries. Okay. So according to the court documents and statements made on the record, the DA's office alleged that Jacob messaged his father on that evening and showed him the pictures. He told his father that he had been attacked and sliced. All right. And he showed him photos of his wounds that showed a gash on his leg and face covered in blood from a large wound on his head. So then it says Donald allegedly called police around 4 a.m. on August the 1st and told them he found Jacob dead in the bathroom, slumped over the toilet with wounds and cuts on his legs and head. Responding authorities found the residence in disarray with blood splattered on the furniture, walls, floor, and counters. Oh my God, how horrific, you know? The investigation revealed Donald had been accused of assault on Jacob on at least 2 other occasions earlier that month, violating a protective order against him on both occasions. During one of the incidents in June, Donald allegedly threatened to kill Jacob with a knife, per the DA's office. So as of October the 1st, the indictment, Donald had been charged with 2 counts of burglary. Why are they not charging him? It wasn't immediately clear if there would be further charges against Donald. Oh my gosh. Oh God. Court records do not indicate the attorney information for Donald. That's terrible. I don't know, Leslie, why do people do things like this when they could just, well, I don't know. And here's the thing. If you are being abused by somebody, why are you still, oh, never mind, I know that. I always say, why are you still in that relationship? Well, I can tell you that some people are not strong enough to leave. Now, I don't know, and I know that not everybody financially can just get up and go. Not everybody just has their own money where they can just get up and go, which I can understand why that would make some people not leave. I'm going to have a guest come on one day. I need to take a drink. I'm going to have a guest come on one day to talk to us about abuse and why people in relationships don't leave. What is it that traps them there? So I'll let y'all know when I schedule that. I think I'm going to let Woman's Warrior come up and talk to us because she does some kind of counseling after the fact, right? So Kata Scott, let's talk about Kata Scott. That's another big issue in the news. Yeah. Cause of death revealed for Kata Scott, whose remains were found behind an abandoned school after she received harassing calls. Oh, wait, let me check. Oh, I hope that, hang on a minute. Yeah, I just thought about this. I had played my new little song. I hope it's not still on. I'll be so upset. It's not on good. All right. So I don't think there's any background music on, but I'm going to just turn it off in case because I don't want anything to upset my life because I had that problem before. So Kata Scott was reported missing after she disappeared from her work on October the 4th. She's beautiful, just beautiful. Here's what we need to know. Her remains were found behind the abandoned school 2 weeks after she disappeared. Keon King, 21, is facing several charges, including murder and abuse of a corpse in connection with Scott's disappearance. Medical examiner listed her date of death as October 18th, though officials initially said they believe she was killed shortly after 4 on the day she was kidnapped, October the 4th. But, you know, they always give the death date as the day they're found because they really don't know. I mean, they would just be guessing. They just use the day they were found. Authorities in Pennsylvania have released the cause and manner of death for Kata Scott, whose remains were discovered in a wooded area 2 weeks after she disappeared. Scott, 23, went missing from her workplace in Philadelphia on the 4th. He was arrested on the 15th and has since been charged with several offenses, including, the murder and arson, according to the district attorney's office. Officials from Philadelphia medical examiners say they have now determined that how Scott died and that the nature of her death was a homicide. Right. She was. I'm sad. Scott died from a gunshot wound to the head. Oh, man. Her date of death is listed as October 8th. However, officials, okay, we've already talked about that one. Let's see. People were unable to independently verify the exact date of death as the medical examiner's office did not respond to the request for information. Scott vanished after she was subject to harassing phone calls in the days leading up to her disappearance. Philadelphia police previously told People, when inquired during the early stages of the investigation, that police declined to comment on whether King is connected to those phone calls. Authorities did not elaborate on the nature of the relationship between Scott and King, but previously said they briefly knew each other. I think they more than briefly knew each other, right? They had been texting and had plans to meet up that evening that she disappeared. As the investigation into King unfolded, authorities learned that additional alleged victims, okay, so she's not the only one, King had been charged with kidnapping and strangulation. Kidnapping and strangulation. He is not in jail? Are you kidding me? Stemming from a domestic incident earlier in the same year. In the same year. Oh my God. Philadelphia Assistant District Attorney said the following, talked about this after his arrest. Honey, there should have been no arrest because he should have been in jail for that. See, why do they get bond? I don't understand it. Those charges were, oh my God. So those charges were withdrawn when the alleged victim did not show up in court, but prosecutors have since said they would refile it. Just because she didn't show up in court, you did not go continue with the charges? Something needs to change. Shh. Jack, no. Something needs to change. That, why should they just be dropped? Victims don't show up because they're afraid most of the time. Oh my God. Other alleged victims of King have also come forward in cases that never resulted in his arrest. So he is a serial kidnapper, I guess. In my opinion, it sounds like he has a serial problem with this. I can't really call him a serial kidnapper because nobody else has called him that. But Scott's remains were found. Okay, we know that. Let's move on up here to the next part. Oh my gosh, this is just terrible. So I would like to know, he was charged with arson, robbery, abuse of the corpse, and tampering with evidence, conspiracy, among other charges. Wow, that's terrible. I hear his lawyer got him off, but I don't know. I think he had threatened her. That is just god awful. Jack's having a problem. See, there's people out there trimming trees, and so the big truck's out there, and it's making the mulch while they trim the trees. Okay, that makes sense. But he just will not stop. He can't stand it. So anyway. Let's see what's the next thing that's going on over here. There's so many stories like this. It's just awful, right? Let's see. Crime news. Here we go. Oh my goodness. We've got that story. Here's one. He's famous for the viral Lock 'em Up video. He was just down on charges of sexual battery. Oh my God. Lord. Let's talk about Laken Snelling. Laken Snelling must wear electronic monitor after the judge restricts release for cheerleader who allegedly left her baby in the closet. Oh, that's another case that's horrific and terrible. I'm glad she's on a monitor. But, here's the thing. They all know they're pregnant. Just like our little friend over there, Alexi Treviso, she carried black trash can bags in her purse because she knew, she's premeditated. She knew when that baby was born, she was going to get rid of it. She was going to put it in those plastic bags. She had no intent to ever raise that baby, period. Okay, so here's what we need to know about Laken Snelling. She must submit to electronic monitoring as part of her pretrial release. She also will be subjected to house arrest and in only one location. The former cheerleader is waiting to see if a grand jury will indict her after a newborn baby was found dead in her closet. Laken Snelling, the former University of Kentucky cheerleader, whose newborn was allegedly found dead in a closet, must start wearing this monitor by next week. Okay. Judge Melissa Moore Murphy also ordered Snelling to serve out the remainder of her house arrest at home with her father, as opposed to her mother. The father's home is outlined in the court's initial pretrial release conditions. I think that's good. Snelling must also contact pretrial services within 7 days to facilitate the commencement of electronic monitoring, according to the order. It's unclear why the judge decided to modify the conditions of Snelling's release. First, Assistant County Attorney John Hine, who submitted the proposed order to the court, did not respond in a request. Yeah, it pisses me off too. There's no excuse when there's a plate. Okay, there's no excuse when that's exactly right, Leslie. But let me tell you something. Like the little lady, well, she's not a lady, she's a monster too, but the one that threw her baby in the trash recently here in Austin, one of the things I found when I first reported with this, I got to looking, I was like, I know in Texas we have the Moses Law. We have the Moses Law, right? But there was no box in Austin. So yes, you can take your baby any hospital, to the police station, to the fire station, but you have to knock on the door and say, hey, I can't take care of this baby, and give it to them. As opposed to the box, there's, the baby boxes where you can just put your baby in the box. It is monitored, it is climate controlled, and you put the baby in the box. Once you shut the box, the door locks, okay, and you walk away. Nobody's asking you questions. But when you have to go physically, and this is not an excuse. It's not an excuse as to why her baby ended up in the trash. It's just not. I think there was fear. She had fear she was going to be arrested because I need to recheck these facts, but I believe she was here illegally. But that doesn't matter when you're dealing with a baby. I mean, you don't put a baby in the trash. What was she thinking? What's wrong with her? I don't know. There's a lot to that story as well, So, I mean, that's one thing that upsets me is all of these. There are so many of these cases where these babies end up in the trash, or they end up just left behind somewhere with hopes that somebody will find them. So, Snelling is still waiting. Okay. When it's alleged she gave birth to a baby which fell onto the floor of her bedroom, according to a pair of search warrants and affidavits. It just fell onto the floor. Ugh. She admitted to wrapping the baby in a towel and putting it in a trash bag along with the placenta, according to the affidavit. Snelling then left off her campus home to attend class, but then returned just a few hours later, where officials arrested her after receiving a call from her concerned roommates who found the blood in her room, according to the affidavit. So this baby was not very old when she did this. Snelling initially faced charges of abuse of a corpse, tampering. Yeah, no, you don't. Les, no, you don't. I just don't understand these women. I don't either. I don't understand it at all. They know they're pregnant. Everybody around them knows they're pregnant. All of a sudden, they're not pregnant anymore. People are going to ask, what are you going to say? Oh, what's your excuse going to be? Oh, it wasn't really a baby. It was a false pregnancy. What the hell? Come on, man. Come on. So she entered the plea of not guilty. Wait a minute. So she entered the plea of not guilty, and she was released on $100,000 bond, along with the monitoring. The judge then agreed to place Snelling on house arrest ahead of her trial and allowed her to move back to Tennessee. Okay. Snelling informed the University of Kentucky she would no longer be attending the school the day after her initial court hearing, and Snelling's attorney declined to comment. Of course he did. So I'm going to go back to another story. Hang on just a second. And it's going to be about the little lady in Austin. Okay, Austin. I was so upset by this story. I'm like, my God, I live close to Austin, okay? Okay. Here we go. My lips are starting to chapped. We had a huge weather change, right? And it was like 40 degrees this morning. So what's the first thing that happened? My lips start chapping because, like now the heater ran, which the heater should have not came on. But I guess when it gets to a certain temperature, it's just going to kick on. I think my husband had switched it over thinking, winter's here. But winter's not here. So now it's drying this house out. In September, a newborn baby was found alive inside a dumpster at an apartment complex in North Austin. That baby is so lucky. I'm so glad people found that baby. I really am. The mother, Nellie Denora Rivera Felipe, was later arrested and charged with abandoning and endangering a child. Here's the discovery. On September 20th, an apartment complex in North Lamar Boulevard heard a baby crying from inside a dumpster, and the neighbor pulled the baby out. The baby, named Miracle Angel by neighbors, was taken to Dell Children's Center and is reported to be doing well. An umbilical cord was still attached when she was found, still attached. After receiving security footage and receiving tips, police arrested the 22-year-old Rivera Felipe. According to an affidavit, Rivera Felipe admitted to the police that she gave birth alone in her apartment. She said she believed the baby was lifeless and not moving before she placed the infant in a bucket and put it in the dumpster. So how is the baby lifeless and not moving, but the neighbors or somebody in the complex heard the baby crying? Please explain this to me. I don't understand that. So then, let's see. She was charged with abandoning and endangering, and that's a second-degree felony. And then it talks about the baby, or the Moses Law, which allows the parents to legally and honestly surrender an unharmed baby up to 60 days old in a safe haven location, including hospitals, fire stations, and EMS. In Texas, safe haven boxes were authorized in 2023, but are not yet available in Austin. Not yet available. But that's not an excuse for what she did. So, there is I'm not going to play the YouTube videos and all that because that's been played over and over and over, and I don't really want to play those. But the investigation is continuing. The baby's doing great. I think that they've already placed it with a foster home, which is awesome. It's just awesome. Let me see if there's something else about this. There's so many of them. It's just over and over and over. I can't understand it. So let me go back over here. I know we were talking about people in the news or in the news period, but I'm gonna look at something else here. I want to find out how many times in Austin has this happened this year, or in how many times have they found them in the trash this year? Okay, newborns. Hang on a second. I'm getting off topic, but whatever. How many times? Okay. Well, actually, there's a case that's recently occurred in North Texas, in North Austin, Texas, Armstrong County, Pennsylvania. There's two of them going right now. The discovery in late September, that's that one. That's the one in Texas. Now, in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania, the discovery was on September the 13th, where they were called to a Cadogan Township after property owner found a decomposing infant's remains in a trash bag. Oh, is this little girl? No. This is another one. During the search, police found the remains of 3 more deceased infants wrapped and hidden in the home's attic. The previous resident, Jessica Mauth, Mauthe, was arrested and charged with multiple counts related to deceased infants. She admitted to having given birth to them at different times over the past 6 years. Just makes me sick, girl. So the safe haven law is in all 50 states. So I don't understand. I want to know more about this lady here. Let me pull this back up. Hang on a minute, guys. Mauthe. Oh, boy. Bad. Here we go. Mom arrested after 4 babies were found, and the neighbor didn't know or suspect that she was. What do you mean they didn't know she was pregnant? What do you mean? You can see when people are pregnant, right? Well, okay, I say that, but I may not be 100%. To me, I would think you'd be able to see it. Authorities say that Jessica Mauth gave birth in secret and hid the infant's remains in her Pennsylvania home. Oh, my. So 4 infants' remains were found on September 13th. The neighbor said they often watched her 6- and 8-year-old sons and never knew she was pregnant. She has 2 other children. People previously reported that the landlord noticed a foul odor after the eviction and entered the house and discovered 1 infant before there was 4 others found in the attic. Police say this woman gave birth in secret and concealed 4 babies' bodies, while neighbors who often cared for her young son say they had no idea she was ever pregnant. Oh, my God. The remains were found September 13th, and she was 39 years old and had recently been evicted. 1 infant was discovered in a bedroom closet. The others were in the attic and stored in bags. Ugh. Carmen Felix, who lived nearby and frequently watched her boys, said the neighborhood is still reeling. It's just evil. It's beyond sick. It's a close-knit community. Everybody watches out for each other. Them 2 boys of hers, the whole neighborhood babysat them. Felix and added that they had no idea she was pregnant, so I guess she never showed. Felix also questioned how the deaths could have happened. How could she do that 3 times? You don't just plop babies in toilets. The whole neighborhood is in shock. According to a criminal complaint reviewed by CBS, Mauth told police she gave birth to a baby about a year ago while sitting on the toilet. Okay, here we go. While sitting on the toilet. She said the baby remained in the toilet for several minutes while making noises, and then she wrapped it up until it stopped making noises. Oh, my God, and put it in a closet. You freaking monster. What a freaking monster. That baby was absolutely alive. Mauth also admitted that she had once given birth and heard an infant whimpering and passed out. She told investigators that when she woke up, the child was dead. And another instance, okay, see, none of this it's not her fault. Now, this is a true sociopath right here, right? How could she smell that smell? How you living in a house that smells like that? What about her boys? What about her other 2 children? They didn't know their mom was pregnant. They didn't smell anything. What the hell? She told investigators that when she woke up, the child was dead. In another instance, she wrapped a baby in a towel and held it until it stopped breathing before hiding the body. She intentionally murdered each one of these children. Police said she admitted giving birth to at least 2 more babies while living at the house and placing their bodies in the attic. Autopsies were performed Sunday, and investigators are waiting reports from the medical examiners. Elizabeth Germany, a Ford City resident, said she was horrified by what was found. Very sick, very disgusted, sad for the 2 that are left behind. I mean, the living conditions were disgusting, and that it had a very potent smell. Oh my. Jimmy said, explained, she had been in the home helping the landlord search for cats left behind. Oh my God. The cat lady who murders the babies also had cats. I mean, she took better care of these cats than she did her kids. Is that what we're hearing? Her support system was minimal, and I think she loved her boys. Giving them structure. They needed structure. They needed love. They needed hugs. If they needed to eat, we fed them. Listen to this story. Now, this is more horrific than we thought. She's a bigger monster than we realized. So if the children needed food, the neighbors would feed them. All the neighbors were taking care of her children. Oh my God. State police said they will seek warrants for Ma's medical records and plan to interview her friends, co-workers, and her incarcerated husband. Oh God. This is even worse than we thought. Mouth is charged with 1 count of criminal homicide and 1 count of involuntary manslaughter. She also faces 4 counts each of concealing the death of a child and abuse of a corpse. CBS reported that earlier counts were withdrawn and replaced with a new filing last week, and that more charges were expected. She's being held without bail. Well, you think so? Yeah. People previously reported that after Ma's eviction for non-payment, her landlord entered the home and noticed that foul odor and found 1 infant. Oh my God. It's so hard to read, isn't it? Oh God. Okay, I think I'm going to get some more information on that case. Don't let me forget, okay? Let me take a picture of this. Right. I'm going to get some more information on this case because I want to know. I'll probably do a FOIA request to see if we can get anything about it. It's just sick as hell. Let me see who else has done this that's gotten arrested. Let's see. Let's see. Oh my God. Let me see what the PA News says about it. I mean, because I really do want to know. Listen, I know that there is, because I've done a live on this before. There are people that have a psychosis, and to them, when they have this baby, well, it's not theirs. They don't know where it came from. It's like, that didn't come out of me. I don't know what that is. But see, they have this attitude. And at first I thought, well, maybe Treviso had that problem. But then when I learned that she carried the trash bags in her purse, I was like, she knew she was pregnant. She intentionally did this. She had every intention. But the thing about the Treviso that's weird is she was at the age that she could have went to any place and given that baby away and her mother would have never known. Because she was over 18. She was considered an adult. She had that right. And the way her mother acted when we see that film footage, you see her mother, I told you about this. I'm thinking, bitch, you knew she was pregnant the whole time. Do not come over here and act like that. Do not. That's No way, no way. In fact, there was an update on her case the other day. There's cases that go back. Let me look up Treviso real quick, and we'll talk about her for a second. I don't know. I'm just having fun talking. So glad you came in, Leslie. I do enjoy that. Let's see. Her name is Alexi. Hello. Okay, Treviso. Let's see what's going on with her. Here's the latest. She's in New Mexico. So she has this baby. They found the baby. This alleged confession. The suppression of evidence in mid-2024 in the district court ruled that Treviso's alleged confession and police camera footage at the hospital were inadmissible in court. Well, what the hell? What are they going to charge with? Now, she has also turned around and sued the hospital for the death of her child. How does that work? Please explain to me, right? How does that work? So now they've thrown that out. Following the suppression of this key evidence, prosecutors appealed to the New Mexico Supreme Court, and this trial has been placed on hold while the High Court decides whether the evidence should be reinstated. Oral arguments were heard in early September, so we're waiting something on that. Treviso was charged with first-degree murder and tampering. The pretrial, a judge allowed Treviso to be released from pretrial, and she later attended college, acted like nothing happened, prompting a student petition to have her removed. Thank you. I'm so glad they did that. I hope they had her removed. So she files a wrongful death lawsuit. Now, The lawsuit claims that the suit alleges that the hospital and staff were negligent in prescribing medications not recommended for pregnant women and for leaving Treviso unattended. What the hell? You're right, Leslie. What the F? So the wrongful death case is proceeding independently of the criminal case and is reportedly scheduled to go to trial in 2026. Please don't let her get away with this. I mean, the fact that we know she carried black bags in her purse, God almighty, it was premeditated, 100%. 100%. Oh my God. You see what this says over here. Hang on. The oral arguments. On September 4th, they heard the oral arguments to determine if suppressed evidence of discussion between Alexio and her mother and the medical staff could be used in Treviso's trial. As of Thursday, no decision has been made yet. The Supreme Court has taken the oral arguments under advisement and they've submitted them to decide at a later date. I want to know, what date are they going to decide? Physicians and medical personnel take on the role of caregiver. Police take on the role of investigator. If we accept the state's position in this case, that the line completely disappears and it's to determine the parties or the patients of New Mexico at their most vulnerable moment, Treviso's attorney argued just during this oral argument. Oh my God. The police naturally are going to want to talk to the doctor, to the nurse, and to get a little bit of information before they walk in. I think the police acted very reasonably. They talked to the doctor, they talked to the nurse, as Michael Thompson with the New Mexico Department of Justice argued. I think police is smart enough to realize that just because this charge nurse is telling them this, that, and the other, that's just for one police officer's information. Right? They just needed information because they called the police when they found this baby, in the trash can with things put on top of it, thinking she was going to get away with it. Right? Oh my God. So in 2024, they ruled in favor of the defense. So now they're having this discussion. Let me see. They filed this appeal. Let me see what else is new over here. Okay, so that's set for jury trial. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. And listen to this. Here's a little discussion between Treviso and medical staff and her mother from the body cam footage. Just from the body cam footage. Like, how big is this baby? This is her mother asking her this. The charge nurse says full term. The mother says, what, 9 months? Alexi says, nothing was crying. Now, that's the key word. Nothing was crying. This was nothing to her, right? She felt nothing toward this because it was a nothing. She called it that. Where did you put the baby? Tell me the truth. You put it in the bag? Alexi said, yeah. Mother says, in what bag? Alexi says, the trash bag. Mother says, why didn't you say anything to us? Alexi, I was scared. And the doctor says, I'm sorry about this. In terms of delivering the baby, it looks like you tried to hide it. We don't have to have the police. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have to have the police involved. Yeah, I remember hearing about that case. Right. I did a live on that case not too long ago. I'm just so disgusted by her. But there's a case that was the same thing. I'm trying to remember what year it was. Let me see. Oh, hang on a minute. Old cases where this is, I don't know. I know this is not really planning my whole show, something else, but that's okay. We'll just talk about this. I don't care. It is news. It's all news, right? Old cases where women, okay, put children in trash. Ugh. Look how many times that happens. Look how many times this happens. I mean, if poor Ganny could fit in a suitcase, how many other children who have disappeared are in suitcases? We don't know that. Oh my God. It's just sickening. Let's see. All right. I'm going to go back over here and we're going to find this. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Oops. I also got to notice that Chris Hall from the Mob Cruise did something. Or women, here we go. I got to spell it right. Put children in trash. Whoops. Damn it now. See, when you get all frustrated in a hurry, you can't do nothing right, can you? Let's see. All right. How many cases? Numerous older cases exist, which women have been accused or convicted of putting newborns in the trash. And infanticide, infanticide is a crime with a long history. These tragedies often involve mothers who conceal their pregnancies and act in a state of panic or psychological distress. The following cases span several decades and locations, highlighting the recurring nature of this type of crime. Here we go. So we've got in Geauga County, Ohio. This is from 1993. A mother was found guilty of murder in 2022 after DNA. Okay, so this happened in 2022. It just blows my mind too, girl. I can't even understand it. In 2022, after DNA evidence linked her to the death of her newborn son, whose body was found in a trash bag in the woods. She deliberately did that, right? Here's one. Santa Ana, California in 1989. A newborn baby was abandoned in a dumpster and rescued by a police officer. The baby survived and his biological mother was arrested and sentenced to, listen, 3 years. 3 years for child endangerment and attempted murder. She only got 3 years. Suburban Chicago in 1983. Before safe haven laws, a couple discovered a newborn left to die in a garbage can. The baby was suffering from hypothermia, but ultimately survived after being taken to the hospital. Pennsylvania. This is 18th century. This has been going on a long time. Academic analysis of the Pennsylvania Gazette newspaper from 1728 to 1800 found 100 accounts of infanticide. Accounts often emphasize that the mother's marital status, the brutality of the crime, and the attempts to hide the birth. Golly, 100 of them from 1728 to 1800. In 1870 to 1930, a study comparing modern cases of infanticide to those of Chicago between 1870 and 1930 found that these cases frequently involved women with limited resources, left alone to care for their infants or their families. There were also more homicide or suicides in that past, and a pattern that may have decreased due to increased support and services for mother. Yeah, I can see that. I understand that. In the United Kingdom, pre-1931, the case of, please stop. I'm getting all these little things interrupting me as I'm trying to read this. The case of Kathleen Wise, a 37-year-old who gassed her 9-month-old in 1930. It was pivotal. Wise was sentenced to death, but her case was commuted. This led to the passage of the sentence of death. Okay, so this led to the passage of the sentence of death in 1931, which abolished death penalty for pregnant women. She wasn't pregnant. She already had the baby. Okay. Alyssa DeVault, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, 2017 through 2018. Alyssa DeVault had 2 separate pregnancies from everyone, including her partner and mother. How do you do that? After giving birth at home, she put each of her newborns in trash bags and disposed of them. She was later convicted of homicide by child abuse and sentenced to 40 years in prison for 2 of them. 40 years, right? Okay. Casey Anthony, woo, she made the list. In a high-profile case, Casey Anthony accused of murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, and placing her in a trash bag in the trunk of her car. The highly publicized trial ended with Anthony's acquittal on the murder charges, but she was found guilty of lying to the police. Oh, my God. That made me sick. Here's something. Here's one right here. Listen to this one. Woman arrested after her baby's found in rubbish bin. So we know this is the UK because they use the word rubbish, right? A newborn baby is seriously ill after police say her mother dumped her in a neighbor's trash can in a suburb of Salt Lake. Oh my God, no, it's America. Oh Lord. Okay, so this is the UK police. It's a story on the BBC, but it actually happened in America. Okay, let's get this right. Detective Jared Richardson in Kearns, Utah said that 2-day-old girl was still on a ventilator in the hospital. The girl's mother, a 23-year-old Alicia Marie Englert, was arrested on Tuesday night of suspicion of attempted murder. Now, this is an older case. Police said Englert told investigators that she had put the baby in the trash can hoping it would die. She said she also hid the pregnancy from her parents. Investigators said the baby received no medical care or food. They say they believe the child was in the rubbish bin for an hour before she was discovered by the neighbor. The Salt Lake County Sheriff Jim Winder, who oversees the Unifield Police Department, said in a news conference that investigators did not have any information about where the mother gave birth or why she may have left the baby in the trash. We had a young lady make a very, very terrible decision. It's more than a terrible decision. He added that there was no visible injuries to the child and no information about the child's father. Utah has the safe haven. Again, they have the safe haven law, which allows mothers to leave newborn babies at the hospital with no questions asked. Al Romeo from Utah's Department of Health told reporters that a handful of infants are dropped off at the institutions every year. 7 dead newborn babies were found in the garage of a home in Pleasant Grove, Utah, earlier this year. 7. Let's go find out about that. Oh my God. What the hell, man? 7 babies. How do you do this 7 times? How? Oh my God. Let's go look this up real quick. Oh, Wesley, it's terrible. It's just terrible, isn't it? 7 dead babies were found in Utah in a home in 2014, and the mother was arrested in connection with their deaths. There are also several other more recent cases of individual infants being found in the trash can. So, in April 2014, Pleasant Grove, Utah discovered the bodies of 7 deceased infants inside the home of Megan Huntsman. The remains were found in various containers, including cardboard boxes in the garage. Oh my God, how do you do that? Huntsman, who lived in the home, was arrested in connection with the deaths. An investigation revealed she had either given birth to stillborn babies or allowed them to die and then hid them for over 10 years. 10 years. Oh my God. Let's see. There's one in Texas. There's this one in Austin. Is this a different one? Oh, this is in Harris County. Listen to this. August of 2024, a newborn was found dead in a garbage truck in northwest Harris County. The mother was charged in connection with the infant's death. Well, who is she? Oh my, that's terrible. Let me look at something else. I want to look at the one in let's look at Huntsman. Whoops. We begin tonight. No, let's look at her last name was Huntsman, right? I want to look at the Huntsman case. 7. How do you hide 7 times you were pregnant? Nobody saw this? Good Lord. That's unbelievable. You know, why aren't these people? They need to be in mental hospitals, I think. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's see. This was April 2015. Listen. Oh, my God. Megan Huntsman's child murderers. From 1996 to 2006, Megan Huntsman, an American woman, murdered 6 of her newborn children shortly after giving birth to them in Utah. The serial infanticide was discovered in April 2014 when Huntsman's ex-husband, Darren West, began cleaning out the garage of their Pleasant Grove house. How did he live with her and not see that she was pregnant? What the hell? No way. So, while moving several boxes, West discovered a small white box wrapped in plastic containing the small, decomposing body of a baby. Appalled by his discovery, he contacted authorities. His ex-wife, Megan, was brought in after admitting to him that she'd given birth and put the infant's stillborn body in the garage. During this interview, she admitted first to 4. Okay, so first it was only 4, right? Okay, only 4, right? All right. Then, oh my God. Phew. Before finally stating she did not know how many there might be, at one point saying, yeah, they don't need to be able to have another baby. They need to be fixed. Exactly. Like they're an animal because they're monsters. They're absolutely monsters. I don't like to say the F word while I'm live. It's kind of not nice, but anyway. She does not know. What do you mean you don't know? Oh my God. During the interview, she says 4, but then she states, well, I don't know how many there might be, at one point saying 8 or 9. Megan stated that she had choked, she had choked all the infants with the exception of the one who was stillborn. In the end, police discovered 6 more bodies, one of which was later confirmed in an autopsy not to have been murdered, but was actually stillborn. After full investigation was determined that the babies were Darren West's children, her husband's children. She's married to the man, she's lived with the man, and she's pregnant, and he doesn't know? Oh my God, hell no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. How is that possible? Please tell me how that's possible. She was raised in the church, all right. She was raised LDS, okay, but had not been active by the time of the arrest, according to her uncle, Larry Huntsman. Megan Huntsman attended this Pleasant Grove High School. Their marriage eventually decayed because of substance abuse and violence. And West eventually was convicted of methamphetamine-related charges and was in prison between 2006 and 2014. So she's married to the guy. He is over there going to prison after he's found doing drugs and he's, abusive and everything else. But I don't understand. I don't understand. There's no way the husband, well, now he's in jail and not, but no, they said all the kids were his. Every one of them was his. You tell me. God Almighty. She committed all of her murders by strangulation and hid the bodies. She had been, Police said Huntsman had been heavy methamphetamine user and didn't want the babies. She also said she committed one of the murders when her husband and her brother and sister were in the house watching television. She had the baby, immediately strangled it, and there were people in the living room watching television, and nobody knew. Her husband didn't realize that she was on a very long cycle after she had this baby. It's unbelievable. Oh my God. So she was pled guilty to 6 counts of felony murder. And she was sentenced to 5 years to life in prison with 3 counts to be served consecutively and 3 counts to be served concurrently. Jesus. Golly. That is terrible. Listen to this one. I'm going to tell this one more, and then I'll let you go because I need to get busy. It's already 12:36. I haven't even done my workout yet. That's bull. He knew. I know that man knew. I would love to talk to him. I'd like for him to tell me why, or give me some explanation as to why he says he did not know. You live with a person. You can see babies moving in their clothes. You can tell when somebody's gaining a bunch of weight. Well, I mean, she was a methamphetamine user. I mean, so was she tiny, small, thin, and he couldn't see pregnancy on her? No way. So Amy Grossberg is an American woman who delivered a baby at Comfort Inn in Newark, Delaware in 1996, assisted only by her then boyfriend, Brian Peterson. This is 1978, who later threw the baby into a dumpster in March of 1988. Peterson pled guilty to manslaughter and was given the mandatory minimum sentence of 2 years. 2 years on April 22nd, 1998. Grossberg agreed to a plea bargain and was sentenced to 2.5 years. 2.5 years for killing a baby boy. Because the motive was lack of a desire for the baby. First degree murder charges were dropped after a plea deal. 2.5 years and paroled after 1 year. 1 year and 10 months. The Grossberg only served 1 year and 10 months. Peterson, 2 years in prison and was paroled after 1 year and 8 months. Are you kidding me? So they ended up getting manslaughter. Are you kidding me? That's the God bless it. What's wrong with you people? I don't understand. Oh, listen to this. Peterson relocated from Wycliffe with his mother and stepfather to Jupiter, Florida, where he worked for his family's video company, and then he married a college student named Jamie Chabora. Grossberg, an artist, started her own company called Just Because Invitations in February. So what says media portrayals? These events were depicted in nonfiction crime book by journalist Doug Most, who covered this case, The Bergen Record. Ooh, I'm going to have to get that book, girl. I'll have to get that book so we can read it online. Have to talk about that one. You save that right there. Good. Saving that photo. For more than 2 years, the book was titled Always in Our Hearts, the story of Amy Grossberg, Brian Peterson, and that baby they didn't want. The book traces the story from their high school days in New Jersey through the pregnancy and the secret delivery in the motel room to the court hearings and ultimately the sentencing. Of the book, Kirkus Reviews called it a true crime page turner. And on the book list, they said teens will be drawn to this examination of horrific crimes committed by 2 bright college students. They were college students. Peterson and Grossberg's story was fictionalized by another writer, and they named that book The Love of My Life, which appeared in his collection of short stories after the play. After learning of the story in the media, Boyle became curious as to how the couple could commit such an act and explored their points of view through fictionalized accounts of the case, changing certain details and the characters' names and the gender of the infant. There's another one. Law and Order devoted a story to this case in season 8 episode. Season 8 episode is called Denial. In this episode, 2 teens are acquitted. This Law and Order episode, inspired by Law and Order UK, Bad Romance from 2014. The practice and homicide life on the street also did an episode on this case. The Groesbeck-Peterson case, referenced in Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, Eyes Wide Shut, an article about the trial is visible in fictitious New York Post editions, adjacent to the plot-advancing story about the death of a model pursued by Tom Cruise. Oh my God. Wow. Oh. One last thing. This is the last thing we're going to talk about. Thomas Joseph Capano, okay? He was born October 11th, 1949. And of course, he's passed away. He was a disbarred American lawyer from Delaware who was convicted of the 1996 murder of Anne Marie Fahey. Oh my, remember that case? Thomas Joseph Capano. First degree murder. He was commuted to life imprisonment. And she had been, Fahey was last seen alive on June 25th in 1996. When she went to dinner with Capano in Philadelphia, Fahey's family reported her missing on June 30th after an extensive search by the FBI. And then the grand jury, indicted him. Capano, the last known person to have, listen to this, the last known person to have seen Fahey alive was the prime suspect. Let me ask you a question. I'm just thinking out loud here. Help me out. So if this man was the last person with her when she was seen alive, and he was the suspect, what's going on in Tennessee? Anybody want to tell me about that? What the hell's going on in Tennessee? Not one piece of evidence that child left the house. Not one, not on any camera, nothing. There's been nothing since the child left the house. Last person with that child was who? Mom. That's right. Why is it over here that this is what happened? But this is not what happens over there. Prosecutors allege that Capano murdered Fahey at the house that he rented, and with the assistance of his brother, Jerry dumped the body in the Atlantic Ocean. Jerry owned a boat, and when it was sold, its two anchors were missing, of course. On November 8th, 1997, Jerry was interviewed by detectives and told them that Capano had borrowed the boat and admitted that he had murdered someone and was attempting to extort him. They went to Stone Harbor, New Jersey, with a large cooler that contained the body. And then they went 62 miles out into the ocean and then just dumped the cooler overboard. They tried to sink it, but that the cooler remained afloat in the water. Capano then retrieved the cooler, removed the body, and wrapped the anchor chains around it. He also asked Jerry to help him dispose of a blood-stained sofa and carpet into a dumpster, which was managed by a third party. Oh, God. Louis Capano instructed Louis to empty the dumpsters outside their regular schedule. The empty cooler was found on July the 4th by a local fisherman. Investigators did not have a murder weapon or a body, nor any evidence that Capano had purchased a gun. However, Capano's other mistress, Debbie McIntyre, had bought a gun and admitted to having supplied the weapon to Capano. Listen how many people are involved in that one. Lord Almighty. Okay, well, I think I'm going to stop now. We've been on for an hour and 42 minutes, and I just wanted to come live and talk about a few things in the news and see what else is going on around the world. Talk about something different than what we've been seeing, because that's really a nasty situation over there. I mean, I know everybody's still talking about it, and they're going to continue to talk about it. And sadly, it's going to affect that channel, but I don't think it's going to affect it as bad as people think it's going to affect it, because it's still going. Now, I said what I said about it because to me, it is just plain and simple that it is a situation where you have main character syndrome. To me, that makes perfect sense as to how this all happened. That's all I'm going to say about it. Anyway, good to see you, Leslie. Thank you for coming in and talking to me. I hope you have a wonderful day. So please come back tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time so that we can get back on our Devil and Tate case. We have a lot of exciting things. It's not exciting, but we have a lot of new information, and we have a lot of things coming, this new information. So Lady Freedom and I, Sprinkle Donut, we will look forward to seeing you all tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So anyway, have a good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming by. Bye-bye, Leslie. Thank you. Oops. No.